eggnog, carols, and prejudice? This week, we're swapping visions of sugar plums for the stark reality of a hate crime that sadly surfaced during the holiday season. But fear not, we won't leave you completely deflated. After confronting the ugly truth, we'll journey through a kaleidoscope of fascinating, unique, and sometimes downright bizarre holiday traditions from every corner of the earth, proving there's more than one way to spread cheer and avoid hate on the Parallax Podcast.
Hi, Willow.
Hi, Karissa. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Celebrating the holiday season.
And I've got my, hitting things on my microphone. I've got my Christmas slippers on right now because they're really warm and my feet are freezing.
Yeah, less than a week away before Christmas for those who are listening today.
I know. I hope everybody is getting excited and isn't too cold, because who knew it'd be this cold in Florida, but I'm cold right now, so at least it's not snowing.
Well, for those listening, today's episode, we are going to embark on a fascinating journey through winter holidays celebrated across the globe. It's one of those things that I feel like was important, that we also tackle the understanding of the meaning of the season when it comes to communities and traditions and everybody that is in the world, not just a small section of Western America.
Because I definitely think that that's kind of the true essence of Christmas is to actually celebrate everyone and all traditions and have respect and
we'll go down
really.
we'll go down the little list of places, and there are a lot more religious, cultural celebrations that embark on a more wider umbrella of everyone versus one marginalized group of just believing in the birth of Jesus kind of thing. So we'll talk about that. Yeah. We'll get the ugly out of the way first. No offense, but your story is full of ugliness.
That's how this goes. We do the ugly first.
Yeah. So we're going to let you give us the bad, and then we're going to bring and finish the light. So I'll let you start this episode with your story that you're going to share with us, because I don't know which one you're sharing, but I know it's full of hate.
It is.
Hate, and loathe entirely.
And it literally, apparently my kitten Impy is going to help me start this one. All right, so today, just like Karissa said, I'm going to cover a hate crime that occurred on Christmas Day. It was actually, unfortunately, a very recent one. So this kind of a reminder that this is not something that happened way back when. You know, things like this, these kinds of hate crimes towards all kinds of different cultures, religions, and ways of life is still something that's happening and going on right now. And so that's kind of why I wanted to cover something that happened recently, so I could kind of be like, all right, guys, let's continue to do everything we can to try and stay away from this kind of hatred. Without any further ado, it is December 25th, 2023 in Grand Central Station in the Grand Central Terminal, which is elegant, storied, and bustling, and far from empty. Among its dozens of shops, food stalls, and commuter lines, there's a cafe. And I believe it's tartanary, like confectionery, but it's tartanary. I could be very wrong. My pronunciation is not always great with some of these funny little words, but I think it's tartanary, which is located in the dining concourse beneath the clock, marble, and bustle. It's around 11:25 a.m., and inside Tartanary, visitors, some locals and some tourists, sit enjoying breakfast, sandwiches, coffee, and holiday chatter. Among them, a family traveling from overseas consists of two teenage sisters, 16 and 14 years old, who are eating with their two parents. At this same table, at about the same time, a man, later identified as Esteban Asono Asu, also known as Stephen Hutcherson, sits alone. To anyone watching, Grand Central on a holiday might seem chaotic but cozy. But this man was not there for coffee. What followed would become one of the most disturbing transit-related attacks in recent memory. Eyewitness accounts, police reports, and court documents tell a grim sequence. At 11:25 a.m., Asono Asu picked up a fork from his table, a small, ordinary object absolutely unremarkable in a cafe. In an instant, he lunged. He scratched a woman's neck with that fork. A harmless utensil turned into a weapon in a flash. Immediately, panic spread, and people ducked. Screams rose. But the horror wasn't over. Asono Asu then pulled a knife. He crossed the dining area and approached the table where the two teenage girls sat with their family. Without warning, he stabbed the 16-year-old girl in the back, a blow that would damage her lung and diaphragm. As people scrambled, as chairs overturned, the sister, again 14 years old, tried to flee, and she was stabbed in the leg. In a matter of seconds, a festive meal among loved ones became a violent, chaotic nightmare. Then, the stabbing stopped. The attacker dropped the knife. He did not run. He surrendered, as officers responded in under 30 seconds. Paramedics rushed the two victims to Bellevue. The older teen's lung puncture and diaphragm injury were serious. The younger's leg wound, serious but survivable. Both would survive, fortunately, but the trauma, physical and psychological, would not simply vanish. We don't have the names of the two victims here. They were and still are minors, tourists from South America, which is actually something that we had talked about in a previous episode, that in many other cultures, they will not release the names of victims of crimes. Here, I don't think we release the names of minors until they are of age and can consent to having their names released. But I do believe in some countries of South America, it is also like they don't release the full names or the names at all of victims. So there's that interesting little tidbit there. Anywho, so they were tourists from South America. But we can't imagine a 14-year-old girl maybe clutching her parents' hand, 1 minute laughing over a pastry, the next flinching in agony. A 16-year-old maybe excited for holiday sightseeing, suddenly fighting for breath in a crowded train terminal. As even if they were from South America, they are not at all that different from 14 and 16-year-olds that we see everywhere all the time.
Were these people of color? Because just because you're from South Africa does not mean you're automatically a person of color.
So that was something I was trying to find out. So I know that they're from South America. I believe they were lighter skinned.
Okay, they're from South America?
America. Yeah, not South Africa, South America. Because at first I thought it was South Africa too, and I was reading, because my brain kind of did the same thing, and then I was like, oh no, South America. So they definitely were, from what I understand, lighter skinned, shall we say, but they were not Caucasian by any means, from what my research has shown, which is interesting, and I'll get into that in a second. But anywho, now the parents, of course, were stunned. Other diners were frozen. The bystanders were shouting and scrambling, and the chaos was ricocheting beneath the vaulted ceilings. For a moment, a fraction of a second, Grand Central stopped being a beautiful landmark and became raw, terrifying ground zero. Survivors described the attack as sudden, inexplicable. People said they heard the assailant shout slurs, multiple different kinds of slurs, which I will not repeat because I don't believe in that. According to reports, he yelled, "I want all the white people dead," just before stabbing. He was African American. Now, again, I don't find that interesting, but I think it is interesting that he targeted these two individuals who were not Caucasian, but that was one of the things that he had shouted. So I don't exactly know what his motive was beyond just pure hatred of other people, since he was shouting multiple different types of slurs. But whether those words led to a charge of hate crime remains part of the legal file and part of the trauma. So I don't think they've actually confirmed whether he has been charged with a hate crime yet. But for the girls, their lives changed that day. Their holiday ended not with gifts or photos, but with wounds, memories, and therapy. For their family, travel plans dissolved into nightmares, and for witnesses, a mourning that they'll never forget. Within seconds, like I said before, less than 30 seconds, multiple law enforcement officers from MTA police and NYPD descended on the cafe. The knife was dropped, the suspect surrendered, and there was no chase, no manhunt, just silence and confusion. Police again identified the attacker as Esteban Asono Asu, a 38-year-old man from New York City. By December 26th, the next day after the attack, media outlets were already calling it a terror, a shocking act of violence on a holiday in a public, iconic space. He was charged with attempted murder in the second degree, assault in the first and second degrees, attempted assault, which I'm assuming is probably towards the lady he scraped with the fork, and endangering the welfare of a child. Some charges carried the potential of increased penalties under hate crime statutes because of the reported slurs. So he wasn't charged, I guess, directly with the hate crime, but his assaults, I believe, fell under, when it came to sentencing, they were able to have it fall under that of a potential hate crime because of the slurs that multiple witnesses heard. As New Yorkers, commuters, tourists, all of us who have wandered through that grand hall of clocks, marble, and chaos, we paused. We asked, how could this happen here at Christmas to teenage girls eating lunch? The answer, cold, terrifying, senseless, was it only takes one person. One of the most confounding parts of this case has always been why. Like I just said, he said multiple slurs. He had made that quote, "I just want all the white people to die," and then targeted these two teenage girls from South America. So it doesn't really make sense what was going on here.
Had he expressed or like a hate against white people prior to that?
It sounds as if he perhaps found himself oppressed. And I don't know if it was because of, as an African American in America, in places that are more predominantly white.
I feel like Grand Central Station would be a pretty good melting pot of not necessarily just white people.
I was going to say, I would think it would be a good melting pot. I don't know if he had, because there's not like tons of information out there. So I don't know if he had grown up somewhere else that was predominantly white and just unfortunately went through, I guess, some of the different experiences.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
That one does, or if it was transplanting his hatred or his own anger that could be directed at himself or other situations onto someone that he can see as being lesser than him.
Well, here's my questions, because I would like to know, did he just have a moment like before he went to Grand Central Station where someone sparked this strong, like almost like a buildup, almost like you're building up the tension and you're about to explode, and there was just something that happened right before that. And he's like, I just want all of you white people to die because they've wronged him. Because I'm not at all excusing his actions. However, it's often that there are hate crimes, but it's usually against someone who is a person of color versus people that are white. It's usually hate crimes are not typically onto white people. It's the other way around.
And that's why I found this one interesting.
And so that's why I'm wondering if it's like something that is a built up thing that pushed him over the edge, and that's why he couldn't even see straight to see that they weren't people of color, or they weren't people or he didn't see that they weren't technically white. They were maybe an olive skin or something else, but not necessarily, your typical white person.
Yeah. And I would say, from what I understand, I would want to guess it's perhaps a buildup of life experiences. I understand, and of course, me being a Caucasian woman, I don't have these experiences, so I cannot speak from personal experience. But also being a Caucasian woman who has a lot of friends of color, and, having wonderful relationships with them where we can have conversations about their experiences so I can better understand them. I do understand that in certain places, especially some more so than others, it can be really difficult to grow up or just even spend part of your life in a predominantly white area. And so my understanding is perhaps that this did come from a buildup of his life experiences.
Which
and
is
for
sad.
whatever reason, whether it was truly something happened or even just mental illness, because it happens to us too. We've covered multiple cases where because of a undiagnosed or untreated mental illness, somebody just snaps. There is a possibility that's what happened. And what he chose to do was to put his anger and his aggression towards people who he thought had caused that, instead of perhaps understanding what he might have done or what like a certain person rather than a group of people had done to put him in a situation where he felt that aggression. I don't know for sure. Again, because this is a more recent case, there's not like, and it, didn't hit some of the other more recent cases that have hit huge like headlines and such. Because this involved somebody who was a person of color, I imagine it did not hit as many headlines as you might expect. And so there's not
I would
as
have
much
to, and
information.
I am not going to sit here and say that he didn't deserve to be punished. What he did was wrong. I'm just wondering context, if he had something that was done to him that led up to this point, and are all of the charges necessary? Like, I feel like definitely what he did was absolute, like attempting to murder someone. That's awful. Like he harming a minor, all these things. But there were a lot. It's almost like they threw the book at this guy. Would they have done the same thing to a white person? Yeah, that's always that question, like, is it on both sides? I mean, I do think that when you do something like that, you should have the book thrown at you when you endanger a minor, when
And no
you
matter who you are,
no
where you
matter who
come
you
from,
are, period.
the book
They
should be
threw a
thrown
lot
at
at
you.
him, so I would hope that they would do the same thing if it was someone if we reverse the color roles.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I would hope that they would not do what they sometimes do and try to find whatever excuse they can. It's just wrong.
Yeah,
Just because you believe something, speak some way, look some way does not make you better than the other person who tried to do something like that.
especially if it's a person that did nothing to you. This person did nothing to you. Not that that justifies it, but it's like there's no rhyme or reason.
Exactly. But he did end up being convicted. Like I said, he received a prison term of 20. Now this is weird. 26 1/3 to 29 years. I was like, that's really awkward.
They're
That's
using some kind of like chat GPT, like sentencing algorithm.
like 26 1/3. I'm assuming that what it was, because there's certain sentences that you'll get for like lesser crimes that'll be like 4 months or so. I'm assuming that 26 1/3 is the combination of of all the sentences, and one of them comes up to 1/3 of a year.
Yeah.
But 26 1/3 to 29 years, which is actually apparently a significant sentence reflective of the severity of attacking children, which I'm sorry, but like
Pedophiles get less time.
yeah, I'm like, if you're attacking a child, them saying that 29 years is a significant sentence, I think that's a very much warranted sentence, but like maybe
But
I'm
it
just
should be across the book. Like,
yeah,
open more prisons to keep those people in. Let's just not keep putting them back on the streets.
just ugh.
Yeah.
And then as far as the why that we've been talking about, like I said, it's largely unknown. It's really up to us to just kind of guess, because he never really said, oh, it's because of blah, 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 blah. And so that's kind of why it's up to us to kind of say, okay, maybe it was a combination of life experiences that led up to this one moment. He's never really come out and said for sure. But after this specific moment, there was a difference in Grand Central Station. There were survivors who would sit there and say if they heard footsteps behind them, they'd kind of go back to that moment. They'd become more fearful. The MTA police increased their patrols. The stations installed additional surveillance, and conversations sparked in newsrooms on social media about safety, mental health screening with an N, and hate crime enforcement. Now, again, before we close, we've taken some time to kind of talk about this man who did this hate crime, but I still want to put some importance, of course, on the two girls who were hurt by him. And again, we don't have their names because their names have not been released, but they truly do represent a very small part of a very large portion of survivors of hate crimes who I feel like we have to spend more time listening to their voices, spend more time learning about their stories, recognizing where this hate is coming from and how old it is and how much it does not matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You could be spending that energy on doing something so positive and so wonderful for those around you, for your community, and hopefully for those people around you who are not like you. And how much easier it would actually be and how much less tiring it would be to focus on those positives and on trying to love rather than trying to hate.
Preach, sister, preach.
I'll say now that I've preached, now that I'll get off my little soapbox here and let you talk about holiday traditions. I'm very, very, very excited about this. I always love learning new things from you. And so I'm very excited to learn about all of these different cultures because I learned a lot from like my husband's culture. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
Well, hopefully I can satisfy that need for you.
Satisfy that need for me. Oh,
Satisfy that-
Carissa.
Hey, girl, hey.
Oh my God.
Anyways, this season, we always talk about, the season, the reason for the season. And a lot of people get frustrated when they're like, oh, stop saying holiday. It's happy holidays. It's Merry Christmas. I'm like, first of all, there are a lot more people in the world besides Christians. This season is literally enriched with vibrant traditions, captivating like these stories that illuminate like actual human experience. And they revolve around this time of like from going from the dark to light and love and these communities getting together for these festivities, blah blah blah, all that great stuff. So I just want us to sit back this Friday before Christmas and kind of explore the magic of these celebrations. I thought it'd be kind of cool to add to the end of a hate crime something to bring us back into the light.
Something super positive and wonderful.
I am going to start the list off with, of course, Christmas at the top of the list here for just explain, but I'm going to add some cool stuff that maybe everybody doesn't know.
Yay.
Just a little few things. Yay. We know that this is a holiday that is, of course, cherished by Christians, making it marks the birth of Jesus, but also it's celebrated by a lot of non-Christians who enjoy the festivities of community rather just a religious symbol. So it's more than just the birth of Jesus anymore in modern times. You can go to an atheist Facebook page and see them dressed as Santa and a Christmas tree.
I think it's kind of becoming that excuse to have more family time, and have more of that holiday get together and positive times,
Well, many of us may be familiar with the festive decorations. Most may not know that the original decorating of the Christmas tree kind of originated in the 16th century in Germany, which you should probably know that since you took German.
Yes.
Yes.
It was so cool.
But some legends have it that it was actually Martin Luther. I don't know if you remember me talking about him in the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah.
In a previous episode. Yeah. It's said that he kind of started the first decorating of a tree with the lights, with the candles to mimic the stars in the night sky.
Okay.
Yeah. Over time, this kind of evolved and became this vibrant Christmas tree that we, adorn today with our ornaments and our lights, which this year, oh my gosh, you know how I am. I'm very particular about the way things are. So every single
one of an understatement, but okay.
Every single one of my Christmas trees, since I can remember, always had a theme. I would every year in my room had this small little 3-foot tree, and I would change the decorations out, whether it was red, white, and blue, or there was teddy bears, or whether it was this. I always changed the theme, but it was never chaotic.
Y'all, she has multiple Christmas trees in her house. I want you to know that.
Yes, I do.
I just want you to know. I was literally just there like an hour before this recording, and there are multiple Christmas trees, and they're all different.
Yes. Well, so in my pink living room where I have my pink couch, I have this fir tree with snow and red berries on it. And last year the theme was pale pinks and red and like a soft green. And then my kids apparently have been enduring my organized versions of trees because they wanted to have a tacky Christmas tree this year. I say that with the utmost respect for the idea of it and my daughter Sephora did a great job. It is very pretty, but I don't like multicolored lights. I don't like all that stuff typically. She did a great job. She didn't make it overly tacky for me, so it's fine. But they
Oh
were like,
my
"We want the main
gosh.
living room to be like Christmas spirit with all these like whatever." I'm like, you do it. Have fun." So I had to like just, yeah. But anyways, so these ornaments and lights, they've kind of like evolved to what we have today. And we've already talked about our jolly old friend Santa Claus in a previous
Yes.
episode. So today's version of Christmas has kind of evolved and kind of not necessarily always about just the birth of Jesus Christ. But I wanted to kind of touch on that because
Hmm.
our modern version is our modern version. We're all living in it. So I wanted to talk about Jesus's birth for just a second in this culture part. There is no definitive evidence in the Bible or historical text that provides a specific date for Jesus's birth, okay?
Hmm.
Because a lot of people think December 25th or sometimes in the winter. Some in January 6th, they call it small Christmas or little Christmas. But there are various things and interpretations and theories of his time of his birth. However, there are some ideas and there are some scholars who agree with what I think might have been the time frame that he was born in the spring.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I wanted to kind of bring this into it because I thought that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So the story talks about shepherds in the field. In the Gospel of Luke 2:8 mentions the shepherds were in the field at night watching over their flocks. This wouldn't have been happening in the winter months. This would have been happening in the spring months.
True. Yes.
Right. The census timing. Now, typically the census timing in Roman times would have been the winter months, essentially December through February, but there is thoughts that suggest the time frame could have been linked to more of the agricultural cycles. So
Hmm.
spring would have provided that time frame for the census following the harvest season where people would have been more mobile and able to kind of travel easier versus in the winter
Yeah.
months. Um, and then some of the theological considerations, some early Christians associated the significance of Jesus' life, such as his crucifixion and resurrection, possibly happening in the same seasonal cycle. So if he died and the resurrection was near Passover, it would be thought that his birth would also be around the same time, and that would have been in the
Okay.
spring.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
just
Okay.
just some fun morsels to chew on.
Yeah,
So
that is interesting. I like that.
yeah, so like again, I just thought like I like to throw out the little April theory because it's important to note that there's no consensus among
Hmm.
scholars about which one's which or whatever. Celebrating on December 25th or April 6th, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm. Yeah.
I just thought it'd be fun to put that. But now I wanted to kind of move on to let's delve into Hanukkah. A lot of times people think Hanukkah is like this grand holiday. I mean, it's a big holiday for the Jewish people, but there are other festivities. But for those who don't know the significance of the Jewish holiday Hanukkah, it is known also as the Festival of Lights. And this where it spans 8 nights, celebrating a pivotal moment in Jewish history. Do you know anything about Hanukkah on your side of this?
No, I know that there are candles
On the
and
menorah,
multiple
yes.
nights, and that's
Yes.
kind of all I know.
Yeah, there's technically 9 spaces, but there are 8 nights. The one main one kind of lights them. Yeah. This is from a moment in Jewish history where they rededicated the second temple in Jerusalem. And this was like around the 2nd century BC. There's like this oral tradition that talks about where there was this small little thing that holds oil in it, very small, okay? But despite not being enough for really one day, it actually burned for 8 glorious days. So Hanukkah represents the fact that there's this miracle that happened when the lighting of the menorah happens. It's a candle for each night that in history that oil kept burning when it should not have burned and kept.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of this tradition kind of fosters like the warmth that it kept and the unity that people stuck together
Hmm.
during those 8 nights. So and they typically will, gather. There's gifts on each one of those nights for family. And they will they'll spin little dreidels, and there's these potato pancakes and these
Ooh,
jelly-filled donuts and like all these other little fun twists in their celebrations. Yeah, so that's
I like the
Hanukkah.
potato pancakes.
Mm,
I want potato pancakes.
I'm gonna have a
Sounds
pancake,
good right now.
right? Kwanzaa. This is another one I remember in the 80s kind of coming into more department stores and seeing some of the Kwanzaa stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
late 80s, early 90s, you would start to see more celebration stuff for Kwanzaa. And because this is a relatively more modern holiday,
Mm-hmm.
this was established in 1966 by Dr. Karinga as a way to celebrate African heritage and culture in America. Yeah, and this celebration goes from December 26th to January 1st, and it is rooted in the values that promote community and personal growth, symbolizing its 7 core principles, which are really cool. They've got unity, to strive for and maintain unity in family and community and like a nation and race, self determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics. This is to build and like maintain their own stores, their shops, and their businesses, and profit from them together. You know, to work
Mm-hmm.
as a community, like networking. Purpose. This is developing your community. In order to create greatness, you have to work together, have a purpose
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's creativity and faith. I personally have not studied a lot about Kwanzaa until this past week and looked into it, and it's kind of cool just the many ways that they try to bring a beautiful and beneficial way of their community together. It's really important that people understand that it's not some anti-Christian holiday. It is a community holiday. So please don't think that when you see Kwanzaa stuff. It is meant to bring together people that are here outside of their origins, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's really cool. I think
yeah.
that's a wonderful way for them to be able to celebrate the heritage and just
Yeah, so
themselves.
each evening families kind of do the same thing. They get together, light a single candle on the Kanara and discuss importances of each one of these principles. So there's vibrant colors. You know, you've seen the vibrant colors. They kind of remind me
Yeah.
of Mardi Gras in a way because they're very vivid. They'll share gifts, and it just like again, it's just a way to tie and band their communities together. Um, and then there is the Festival of Lights, a lot like the Festival of Lights with the Jewish traditions. This is the celebration of Hindu. In the Jains, the Sikhs, and some Buddhists will celebrate this. This shines light on like the Diwali, the Festival of Lights. This festivity usually falls between October and early November and symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness and good over evil. Its origins can be traced back thousands and thousands of years, which the Hindu culture is
Wow.
extremely old, and is very rich with a lot of like traditions.
Yeah.
But so the legends over the years have been varied, but for the most famous ones, it's Lord Rama who returns from his kingdom after defeating a demon. And so again, families ignite an oil lamp and in their homes all around them, illuminating their surroundings with colorful decorations, share sweets as symbols of joy and prosperity, and the air is filled with the sound of fireworks and laughter and creating a vibrant tapestry of celebrating things that bring everyone together. You see that same parallel. You're seeing the
Mm-hmm.
lights in the winter.
The
You're
lights
seeing
and
the
the
candles being,
colors
yeah, the
and mm-hmm.
oils in the lamps. You're seeing the vivid colors. You're seeing um, the togetherness. You're seeing the sweets, the treats, you know, all
Yeah.
those things are
Yeah.
coming. Yeah, these things are happening as people are coming together. The last one I wanted to share, of course, which we've talked about a lot only because we've went through a lot of the dark entities that have spawned from there, like Krampus and like things during the Yule. But let's talk about Winter Solstice. This is literally kind of sprinkled through, I think, a lot of cultures throughout the world. And it's a remarkable event occurring around December 21st to the 22nd, whichever one happens to be the longest night of the year. I mean, depending on where we're falling in the season. And it has held significance for ancient civilizations for centuries. From pagan Yule festival in Northern Europe, when fires were lit to celebrate the return of long days, to the Incan festivals of the sun, so the sun god. Honoring their sun god, these ancient people literally recognized the powerful transition from darkness into light. It was all about like that. You think how we are right now. We look outside and we're like, oh my gosh,
It's so
is it
dark.
7 o'clock? No, it's only 3:30. You
Yeah,
know?
right?
Yeah. So we celebrate when it's like spring forward because we're like, finally, we have night light. We don't have to be
Yes.
like in our houses at 4 o'clock feeling like we need to like go to bed.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So that's the same idea. They didn't have the daylight saving times back then. So things were changing naturally for them without
Hmm.
the adjustment of the clock. Uh, but it's a reflection. It's a show of gratitude. This season is a show of gratitude for the cycle of nature and its offering to kind of like prepare us for the seasons to come. Like we've went through all the hot months and the fall, and now it's cold, and if we make it through the winter, it's going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful again.
Yes. I mean, all of these holidays stem from different traditions, but they all share a beautiful thing in common. There's definitely a pattern of lighting their homes with candlelight and oil, and a deep rooted sense of community, hope, and celebration of the darkest time of year. Each story adds richness to our understanding of humanity. We're not all Christians, and we need to remember that. We're
Mhm.
not all, we're not all the same. And so reminding us of that, no matter where we come from, we should also seek a connection and find joy within each other is the point. And that will
Mhm.
make us overall happy,
Yes.
knowing that difference is okay. As we embrace the festive spirit in this next week to come before Christmas, let's celebrate traditions that bind us and the light that guides us through. So, happy holidays, everyone. And I hope that when you go on through this next week, you remember hate is not an option, it is a choice.
Correct. Preach it too, sister.
Preach, sister, preach.
We're doing a lot of preaching on this episode of the Parallax Podcast.
Are there
but it's very
any of the
important.
holiday festivities that you ever thought you're like, I would like to know more about this?
I mean, honestly, I did wonder for the longest time what is it Kwanzaa?
Mhm.
That's the one that you just I
Yeah.
did wonder for the longest time what that was because I saw it a lot. Like I would see like the little things about it, or there'd be like an ad about like, oh, celebrate all kinds of different holidays, and I always wondered what that one
Mhm.
was exactly, where it came
Mhm.
from and what it celebrated. And I think that's very,
Mhm.
very interesting. I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful though that they talk about like not only, trying to support each other in their community in a place like you said where they don't live in the same place that
Mhm.
is their origin.
Or
But
just
honestly, I
connect
think
to your roots.
yeah, and I think a lot of the things that like a lot of the values and such that they celebrate within that time are a lot of the values that I think we should all kind of celebrate and talk about and hold close,
And it should be things that we celebrate and remember all year round.
Exactly.
Yeah. Keep the Kwanzaa going.
I think this was besides the first part where I did my whole spiel, but I think the rest of the episode was a really good one.
Yeah, so we didn't keep you too long on this episode. We want you to have a great season and
Mhm.
respect those around you in this
Yes,
this
please
season
do.
of hustle and bustle. Take the time to connect
Mhm.
and remember the light.
Yep. Especially in today's world, please take the time to choose to love instead. And at the end of the day, it will make you feel so much better about those around you if you choose to find the love, which sounds like super hippie for me to say.
I'm giving Willow the peace symbols, yes. All right. Till next time. If you want to follow us, you can go to theparallaxpodcast.com, click on those little icons, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can give us a little shout out, give us an episode idea, because guess what? Next week, you get our very first listener request. And that's woohoo! Yes. And so you can do that. You can go to the Parallax Podcast email at info@theparallaxpodcast.com. Send us an email, give us a shout out, and tell us what you want to hear. Until then, I'm Karissa.
And I'm Willow.
Thanks for
Goodbye,
listening.
mortal.